guys, we are back with another video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the 10 most winning F1 drivers in history. I hope you guys are enjoying the F1 season so far. We're on a bit of a break right now, but it is coming back this coming weekend, and I think we have 5 races over the next 6 weeks, so I'm super excited for it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. I am using a website. Here it is, autosport.com. So let's see. So coming in at number 10, there's actually, I believe, 2 drivers that are tied at 25 wins. We have Jim Clark. First raced in a 1960 Dutch Grand Prix, world champion 2 times in the 63 and 65. 72 races, 25 wins, 33 pole positions, and 274 points. That's actually very impressive numbers to have only 72 races and win 25 of them. So let's see, Jim Clark shunned the limelight and was only interested in winning from 62 to 65. The Scottish ace was arguably only beaten in the world title when he encountered mechanical issues, and at the time of his death in 1968, tragically during an F2 race at Hockenheim, he held the record for most race wins. An unrivaled talent, Clark was 8 miles clear of the nearest competitor in the torrential rain at Spa in 1963, highlighting the bravery of a driver racing in the most dangerous period of the motorsports history. Yeah, the early 60s and really basically all the way through the 80s, F1 was a lot more dangerous than it is, especially nowadays, which is a good thing. I mean, you want the sport to be safer, but it was definitely a different kind of driver back in the day. I love those cars too. Those cars look so cool. And then at number 10 as well, who's tied with him, we have Niki Lauda. First raced in 1971 at the Austrian Grand Prix. 3-time world champion in 75, 77, and 84. He almost won 3 in a row. If any of you guys have seen the movie Rush, fantastic movie if you haven't seen it, but it's based on the 76 world championship that he narrowly lost to James Hunt, who was played by Chris Hemsworth. Fantastic movie. 171 races, 25 wins, and 24 pole positions, 420 career points. Niki Lauda entered Formula 1 as a pay driver, though nobody can deny that while his money helped him enter F1, it was his talent that kept him there. With 3 seasons under his belt, Lauda joined Ferrari for the 74 season and secured 2 wins and 4th place in the championship for 74. Having often set the pace but suffered misfortune, in 75 Lauda took 5 wins and the first of his 3 world titles. But in his 76 season and the infamous Nurburgring crash, that's his most famous, he bounced back from a life-threatening crash at the Nurburgring to miss out on the title by 1 point to James Hunt. He took his 2nd title in 1977 and retired 2 years later, only to return with McLaren in 1982. That yielded a 3rd crown in 1984 after an epic contest with Alain Prost before Lauda retired for good at the end of 1985. While he proved his talent on track, he later became known for his business sense. Off of it, he worked in managerial positions for Ferrari and Jaguar, though he's most well known for his part in Mercedes. He was instrumental in bringing Lewis Hamilton to Mercedes in 2013 and worked with the team until he passed away in 2019. Fantastic driver, Ferrari driver, and definitely one of the legends of the sport. Next, we have Sir Jackie Stewart. I'm a big fan of Jackie Stewart. If you guys ever want a good podcast to listen to his episode of Beyond the Grid. Was absolutely fantastic. Jackie Stewart first raced in 1965 at the South African Grand Prix. A three-time world champion in 69, 71, and 73. Raced in 99 races. He was so close to 100, but his 100th race came the weekend that his teammate and friend died. And he decided that he didn't want to race and retired from the sport. But out of those 99 races, he won 27 of them, 17 pole positions, and 360 points. It might seem an intrinsic part of F1 today, but Jackie Stewart was one of the first drivers to prove that racers can and should strive for better safety standards. As a triple world champion and dominant force in the sport, Stewart had the credibility needed to change the culture and safety in motorsport. After seeing too many of his friends and colleagues killed doing what they loved, Stewart was a key pioneer in the introduction of full-face helmets, seatbelts, traveling mechanical units, safety barrels, safety barriers, runoff areas, and more. Outside his quest for safety, Stewart was a prodigious talent on track and was the man to beat throughout his time on the grid, claiming 3 world titles with Ken Terrell's eponymous, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, team as the two formed an irrepressible double act in the late 60s and early 70s. Jackie's definitely a great guy, Sir Jackie Stewart. Big fan of him. Those cars look so weird though. They look like almost like retro-futuristic. Next we have Nigel Mansell. I believe his nickname was like the Lion or something like that. He was also a Ferrari driver. First raced in the 1980 Austrian Grand Prix. He was a one-time world champion in 1992. That's actually the year I was born. 187 races, winning 31 of them with 32 pole positions and scoring 482 points. Nigel Mansell was another one of Formula One's unlucky drivers. His career was dogged by reliability issues, and his entire 1988 season consisted of 2 second-place finishes, 2 races missed due to chickenpox, and 12 retirements. He managed to finish in second place in the championship 3 times, missing out on the title by 2 points in '86. As he entered his 12th full-time season in Formula One, it looked like he might go down as yet another brilliant driver to miss out on the title. Thankfully for the Brit, though, this didn't happen. Mansell took 5 consecutive wins to start the '92 season, going on to claim 4 more and taking an additional 3 second-place finishes. This was well enough for Leone to take the title at the age of 39 years old, becoming the 5th oldest person to do so. I know he had one season, I forget which one it was, it might have been '86 actually, but he was super close, and I think he was like leading the race, like one of the last races, and one of his back tires exploded on him, and he wasn't able to finish. That might have been in '86, but yeah, definitely had some unlucky moments. But he did win, I believe, in '92. I'm trying to think which team that was for. I want to say it was for Ferrari. Because I know he drove for Ferrari in the early '90s, but he also drove a bit for Williams, so I can't remember. There he is in the Williams right there, actually. I think it was Ferrari, though. Next, we have Fernando Alonso. First raced in 2001, won the title in 2005 and 2006. 359 race starts, which actually I believe it's more now, depending on when this was written. 32 career wins, 22 pole positions, reputation as a fearless, aggressive racer, though his career can be defined as much by what didn't come as the 2 titles he won. The Spaniard spent 3 years in Formula One before scoring the first of his 2 consecutive crowns, while taking the title with a comfortable 21-point lead over Kimi Räikkönen. His second title year later was a 13-point lead over the great Michael Schumacher, though this is where Alonso's good fortune seemed to run out. A move to McLaren in 2007 to partner then rookie Lewis Hamilton saw him finish the season in 3rd, just 1 point behind winner Kimi Räikkönen and behind Lewis Hamilton, who had the same points but more wins. His 2010 move to Ferrari looked like it would pay off as he entered the final race of the season in the lead, but a combination of him getting stuck behind Vitaly Petrov and a win for Sebastian Vettel meant Alonso had to settle for 2nd. He missed the 2012 title by just 3 points, again to Vettel, and was 2nd again in 2013. Though it was 155 points to the German. He moved back to McLaren in 2015 just in time for the disastrous McLaren-Honda relationship, and after 4 tough years he left at the end of 2018, just before McLaren made their way back towards the front of the grid. I'm of the firm believer that they actually got better after Alonso left, because he really wasn't that great as far as to build around. Even the 2021 season was unkind to Alonso, racing for the midfield Alpine, though team he scored a 4th place finish at the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix, the best he had finished for 7 years, while his teammate Esteban Ocon went on to win, though a long-awaited 98th podium finish in Qatar. Despite the terrible luck that Alonso exhibited in Formula One, he's still taken 32 wins, 22 pole positions, and 23 fastest laps, and is a firm fan favorite. Next, we have Max Verstappen, who is currently the best driver in the world, in my opinion, in 2023. The first raced in 2015. He's a 2-time back-to-back world champion in 21 and 22. 164 races and already has 36 wins and 21 pole positions. Max is the son of former Formula One driver Jos Verstappen and spent just 1 year in car racing before making his F1 debut. While he got to grips with the single-seaters in Florida Winners Series, his junior career is best remembered for the 2014 European Formula 3 campaign, where he finished 3rd, behind Tom Blomqvist and title winner Esteban Ocon. The single season in which he took 10 wins from 32 races, including 6 consecutive wins, was enough to earn him the move up to F1, taking a seat at Red Bull's sister team Toro Rosso for 2015 and becoming the youngest ever Grand Prix driver. His inaugural F1 season returned some success in middle-of-the-pack machinery, 10 points-paying finishes from 19 races, but it was his second season where he really announced his entry in F1, getting the call up to the senior Red Bull team 5 races into the 2016 season, replacing the beleaguered Daniel I can't remember how you say this name. Verstappen took his first win immediately at the Spanish Grand Prix, aided by Mercedes teammates Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton crashing out together on the first lap. It'd take a further 9 wins by the end of 2020 before the tweaked technical regulations for the 2021 season resulted in Red Bull producing a car truly capable of fighting for the world title. With the Red Bull much closer to the previously dominant Mercedes, Verstappen and Hamilton engaged in a season-long battle for the title. The fight came down to the final lap of the final race, with Verstappen just taking the honors out of the 7-time champion for his first title since karting in 2013. Anybody that knows anything about that season knows the controversy around that. But we're not going to get into that, but he did come out the winner. The 2022 championship was much easier for the Dutchman by comparison, though he failed to finish 2 of the opening 3 rounds due to reliability. So I guess this was with the season still going on last year. He did go on to win the world title very easily. At number 5, we have Ayrton Senna. He first raced in the 1984 Brazilian Grand Prix. He was a 3-time champion. 661 races, 41 wins, 65 pole positions, which is crazy. He's widely regarded as one of, if not the pure fastest driver as far as just one lap speed goes. The fastest driver in the history of the sport. One of motorsport's most legendary figures, Ayrton Senna remains the benchmark for raw talent and charisma. His depth of commitment to a lap and his constant desire to push the boundaries for more has meant that Senna has a special place in the hearts of many motorsports fans. His 3 titles give a sense of what could have been had he not died at the San Marino Grand Prix in '94. A combination of natural speed and restless ambition gave Senna an edge rarely seen. Such is his legacy that even nearly 30 years after his death, Senna's cars, now he won his greatest F1 title, are still talked about. And the car he's most famous for driving is that right there, the McLaren MP4. I think that's one of the best looking cars in the history of the sport. It is just so iconic, and when I think of like an F1 car, that's automatically one of the ones that come to my mind. It's, him with that iconic yellow helmet. It's such a classic look. Next, we have a guy who had some fierce battles with Ayrton Senna's teammates is Alain Prost. First raced in the 1980 Argentinian Grand Prix. 4-time world champion. 199 races, 51 wins, and 33 pole positions. It was Prost's meticulous style that allowed him to go up against Ayrton Senna. His nickname was the Professor. He was very, very smart when it came to racing. The bitter feud he is best remembered for his secret weapon was brain power as well as speed, as he possessed a natural precision in his driving that allowed Prost to become France's first world champion in '85. In '87, he beat Jackie Stewart's record of 27 wins, and a year later, McLaren won 15 out of 16 races across the season, which is a testament to both Prost and Senna's skill. Prost remained at the top of his game until his retirement, taking his 4th and final title for Williams at 38. Definitely a legend. Prost was a Ferrari driver as well, and he was just very consistent in his career. I mean, he won a title in '85, '86, '89, and '93, so very, very consistent. Up next is one of my favorite drivers of all time. We have Sebastian Vettel. First race was in the 2007 United States Grand Prix. 4-time champion, taking 4 consecutive from 2010 to 2013. 300 career races, winning 53 of them with 57 pole positions. While his form in Formula One slowed towards the end of his career, I don't really necessarily think it slowed. He just didn't have a good car. There was a time when Sebastian Vettel was virtually unbeatable. Vettel's F1 career started in 2007, and in his first 3 years he took 9 podiums and 5 wins. Though this was nothing on what was to come, over the next 4 years he became the face of F1, winning 4 consecutive championships and becoming the youngest world champion in the process, taking the accolade from Lewis Hamilton. He also secured the records for most podium finishes in a season, most wins in a season, most pole positions in a season, most laps led in a season, consecutive wins, consecutive Grand Slams, and most wins from pole position in a season. Unfortunately for Vettel, the regulation changes in 2014 didn't suit Red Bull or him, and the team quickly fell back through the pack. He went from 9 consecutive wins in the final 9 races of 2013 to not winning a single race until 2015. And since that 2013 season, he's only taken 14 wins, despite that he's still widely regarded as one of the best drivers on the grid until his retirement at the end of 2022, and his list of records is likely to stand for many seasons. Definitely a bummer that Seb retired last year, considering the Aston Martin team have a really good car this year, so it would have been really nice to see Sebastian have a competitive car once again and see where his form was still at. Coming up next, we have, in my opinion, the greatest F1 driver of all time, and that is Michael Schumacher. First raced in 1991. He is a 7-time world champion, which is tied for the most of all time with Lewis Hamilton. He won back-to-back titles in 94 and 95 for Benetton, and then won 5 straight with Ferrari in the beginning of the 2000s, and what is considered one of the most dominant runs in the history of the sport. 308 career races, winning 91 of them, 68 pole positions. When considering the best F1 driver, Michael Schumacher immediately springs to mind. He was, until the rise of Hamilton, the face of domination in Formula One. 7 titles, 5 of them consecutive, a seemingly insurmountable number of wins, unrelenting competitiveness. Schumacher changed the game in F1 with his combination of dedication, passion, and of course raw talent. While he took 2 titles with Benetton, he's far more well known for his time with Ferrari. He joined the team in 1996, and after some highs and lows in the following years, the combination struck gold in 2000, while followed for the next 5 years with 5 world titles, 48 wins, and a record book that had Michael Schumacher's name in almost every field. His second stint in F1 wasn't as successful as his first, yielding a single podium to add to his collection. However, his 91 wins, 155 podiums, and 68 pole positions still put him high up in any statistical analysis. And his second F1 stint, you also have to take into account he was away from the sport for 4 years, suffered a pretty serious motorcycle injury, and the regulations had changed quite a bit as well, so it certainly wasn't the same Michael Schumacher because he was older, but I don't think he really had the same sort of drive or competitiveness. I mean, by this time he was already like almost a billionaire, so I mean, like, you know. And what's also interesting is the next guy who we're gonna see at number 1 wins is Lewis Hamilton, which he got a lot of his wins starting in excuse me. He got a lot of his wins starting in a car that was basically developed by Michael Schumacher, according to Ross Brawn. So I wish Michael would have stuck around in Mercedes for another year or 2, and I think he could have possibly won another world title, but I still think he, in my opinion, he's the greatest driver in the history. Yes, I'm a Ferrari fan, but even without that, I still think he is the absolute best. I just feel like his run of domination was in a lot more competitive time as opposed to the Mercedes run put up by Lewis Hamilton. And I'm a fan of Lewis Hamilton. I'm not one of the people that say, oh, well, you know, he's not good, he's overrated. No, I would firmly rank Lewis Hamilton as the second best driver of all time. But it's just my personal preference is Michael Schumacher, but I prefer, 90s and early to mid 2000s F1 versus the cars of now. It was the V8s and the V10s, so everybody has their preference, but certainly not diminishing or hating on Lewis Hamilton by any means. But our final driver and the guy who has the most wins of all time is Sir Lewis Hamilton. He has 103 wins. First raced in the 2007 Australian Grand Prix. Tied with Michael for 7 world championships. 310 races with 103 wins. 103 pole positions. In terms of career wins and total points, championships with Michael Schumacher, having narrowly missed out on taking an 8th world title in 2021 to Max Verstappen. That's the controversy one that we mentioned earlier. Hamilton holds many Formula One records, and with a contract that runs to the end of 2023, he looks to be able to push even further ahead on many of them. While he missed becoming champion in his first season by a single point, he became then the youngest world champion the following year. 14 years later, he secured 6 more titles and is hunting for an 8th. His contract is up at the end of this year, and there has been speculation that he could maybe join Ferrari. I think that would be really awesome to see, but time will tell. And what's interesting is, since that race where he was robbed out of his world title, the 8th world title, he has not won another race. So Mercedes has certainly seemed to kind of fallen off their mantle as far as, being the best. So it used to be a surefire thing that everybody thought, oh yeah, well, he's going to surpass Michael Schumacher and get the 8th world title. Now that's not for certain. But if he was to get number 8, I think it'd be really cool to see him do it in a Ferrari. But that is going to do it, guys. That is the 10 most winning Formula One drivers in history. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed making F1 content for the years, or for the channel. I've done some gaming stuff, really just, trying to make videos and stuff that I enjoy, because then that way, even if it's not really getting a lot of views or anything like that, I still enjoy making it. And I like listening to ASMR myself, and there's really not too much as far as like Formula One stuff goes. So me being a big fan of it, I said, hey, well, if there's not any stuff out there, I guess I could just make my own. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will be back with another video here shortly. I do have 2 of the races completed for the Michael Schumacher career that we've been doing on the channel. I just haven't actually recorded the whispering for them yet, but I'm hoping to get those taken care of here within the next week or so. But that is going to be it. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, or rest of your week, or whenever you're watching this. And I will see you guys on the next video. See ya.